endgames, the final part of the game and a test for the player's skills. Being also one of the ways to check power creep in the game. But which one of them is the best? And which one makes me want to commit crimes? Hello, welcome everyone! Today, very subjectively, we're gonna rank all endgames in gacha games using a tier list. And our contestants are Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail, Arknight's Enfield, and that's it, I don't play any more gacha games. Additionally, to not make it too boring, we also gonna count all the weekly endgames. And in my ranking, I'm completely gonna skip over the power creep. Evaluation criteria for the endgame mostly gonna be how much fun I have in them, specific mechanics of the mode, and their uniqueness compared to other on the list. Let's start from the bottom. F tier. Here lies the endgames that I'm actively avoiding, and doing them I want to do my homework for school. I don't have school anymore. It's holidays, no one has school. And the worst of them all, in my opinion, is Gateway of Elusive Dreams from Wuthering Waves. Yippee! I hate it. Not only does it reset every week, gives one wish, but also takes up to 30 minutes! In games it says only 12, they're also lying to me! And all we do in those 20 minutes are just like some small fights, which are super easy, so it takes more time to cross the doors and the loading screen, which makes it even worse! Cause who allowed those doors to be so far away? Additionally, if I don't want to waste more time, I cannot even play characters that I want! Cause then I have to do another level with only boss that is hard in this whole mode! I honestly think this whole mode is just such a waste of time. Since I came back to this game, I maybe did it like once, 2 weeks? And since we're talking about wasting time, second mode, Divergent Universe. I wished for Silver Wolf to spend less time there because she has ability to one-shot mobs. I love this endgame just as much as Gateway from WoWa. But it annoys me a little bit less because it has some things that I can count as positives. Pretty good rewards, 1 wish for standard banner and 225 jades. So it's a bigger motivation to playing it. It's not only combat. Oh, and by the way, the second mode from WoWa is also awful, I hate it and I don't count it as an endgame. But since in Honkai we have different options, the game doesn't force me just as much to torture myself in this mode, and I can kinda appreciate it. But that's where positive ends. Usually I just do currency wars because I have actually fun in this mode. And I pretend Divergent Universe doesn't exist. Now going over to E tier, which has only one mode, Memory of Chaos. It isn't as bad as the other two, but there is no way I would have put it in anywhere higher. Very simple endgame, you just need 2 teams, or in the expanded version you need 3 teams. These teams fight separate battles but need to finish them before certain numbers of cycles. MOC is so low because it's just Abyss or Tower of Chaos, just without anything unique. Speaking of which, in D tier we have both Tower of Chaos and Abyss. Let's start with Abyss. 2 teams are fighting separate fights but have to finish them before a certain amount of time. It's a little bit higher than MOC because of the random cards that you can get on each chamber that resets every day. And obviously everyone wants to have more gambling in their non-gambling game. A little bit higher than Abyss we have Tower of Chaos, which actually has quite a lot of positives, because out of the 3 basic endgames, this one is the most unique. It has its own system of energy for the characters. Realistically, you would need 3 full teams in order to beat the whole mode. But tell me, how after playing this game for so long, I'm not even able to attempt to beat 2 last levels? I kinda get that it's skill issue because you can beat it with 4 stars, but it still takes a lot of fun out of it, because of how restrictive the towers can get. So that's why WoW and Genshin will be sitting next to each other just like a broken marriage, and probably insult each other just like the community does. Next on the agenda we have C tier, which I could probably call H tier, because somehow while grading all 3 of Honkai endgames ended up there. Except Currency Wars. We love Currency Wars. But I want to prefix that I actually really like Honkai endgames. They are pretty well diverse. We have single target, we have multi-target, we got something in between, and something in between but harder. And we are going to start with the harder one. Anomaly Arbitration is an endgame in which first you have to beat 3 fights, also called pawns. These fights are completely separate from one another. If you succeed, you unlock the access to the 4th fight with the main boss of the mode. Definitely not the worst endgame that I have played, but I really wish there was an easy way to compare your score with other players. In Stygian we have time, in Anomaly Arbitration we have action value, but the comparison you have to do alone, by asking your friends what action value they've gotten, because in in-game, there is no way of checking that. At least medals you can put on your profile. 4 stars in the main boss fights are fine. Next we have Apocalyptic Shadow. Single target end mode in which we have either 2 or 3 bosses. Obviously we have to fight them separate teams. That doesn't use up too much action value, cause then the score gets lowered. This mode is very focused on breaking the break bar of bosses, and this is good cause it's pretty unique mechanic to the game. But except that it's just single target with stronger boss. And in case you don't have good teams, it can take up a lot of time cause it's pretty slow overall. And lastly, or firstly actually, cause we're going down to up, we've got Pure Fiction. Multi-target of this game is before everyone, mostly because of numbers. This endgame has 3 phases. First, in which there is 5 small mobs on the field the whole time. Second, in which we have 4 small mobs and 1 main boss. If we defeat this boss, we are granted the access to the third phase, in which we also have 4 mobs and 1 other boss in between of them. Just as in every other endgame, we also got to have certain amount of points in here. And even though this mode is mostly made for multi-target characters, the single target ones doesn't have to be used thanks to the bosses on the field, which gives the most amount of points. Thanks to this nice versatility of the mode, it ranked the highest amongst them all. I'm starting to think that I made too much tiers. Anyway, the second half of the tier list, and only endgame in B tier, opens up Whimpering Waves. Multi-target endgame WoW. Our goal is to beat waves of enemies in order to score certain amount of points. There is limit of points you can score on each floor, but instead of giving out rewards for every floor, the points from all basic floors get summed up. Obviously on different floors or ships there are different mobs and resistance, so if for 1 or 2 of them you don't have characters, you don't have to stress too much about it, cause you have the ability to catch on points on different floors. Unfortunately on the hardest level the points are counted separately, and the hardest level also has its own rewards. This endgame is also so high up because half of the characters in this game don't work with it. And it's kinda funny. Plus lots of numbers! We can go up now to the A tier. Between 2 endgames that are in this tier, I had huge dilemma on which one is kind of better, but in the end I decided that Stygian Onslaught is a little bit worse. Stygian is known as the hardest endgame in Genshin. It has difficulty levels, but you can gather Primogems while fighting even 30 minutes, using only 1 team. So Primogems are super easy to get, because to be honest the real endgame starts on the higher difficulties, in which we have to fight with 3 different teams, and most bosses get special mechanics created only for Stygian. But you know what's best in all of it? We have a real in-game comparison times with our friends! I miss it so much in other endgames! Trying to beat my friend's score is such a good motivation to playing it. And the pro players have also clear comparison to one another. And as I mentioned before, difficulty levels, which allows Primos to not get locked in behind higher difficulty levels, but also makes the endgame very challenging and fun for whales and pro players. The second endgame in A tier is End-State Matrix. It's also kinda funny that 2 hardest endgames from both games ended up here. As I mentioned, Matrix is the hardest endgame of Wuthering Waves, in which you have to beat as many bosses as you can. In theory, it's only 5, but after beating them all, you get the next queue with the bosses all over again. When it comes to the negatives, in order to unblock it, you have to struggle in other 2 modes. And they also lock asteroid behind 2 of the difficulties, despite that you can use nearly your whole account to beat those bosses. Which is amazing for people like me, cause I am much bigger fan of vertical than horizontal investment on my gacha accounts. The older characters who got power crept also get some small buffs, which maybe doesn't change a lot, but if any of you invested a lot of time for them, it also makes it feels like it wasn't a waste of time. Overall, very solid endgame, and definitely one of the best in Wuthering Waves, which is good cause it's the youngest, so it means the game is developing. We're going now to the top 3 of whole tier list, and funnily, all 3 of the endgames are from different games. Opening the S tier, currently the only endgame from Arknight's Endfield, Contingency Contract. Endfield for quite some time didn't have any endgame, so I'm happy it did not disappoint me. For the whole mode you only need 1 team, which is good because the game is pretty new, so probably most of us don't have 2 fully built teams. I personally also could only do like 2 teams maybe, and the second one would be it would exist. With this 1 team we have to beat few phases of enemies. We can also choose buffs and debuffs for our team. Additionally, each week we get extra tasks that provide us with extra points to exchange for oro bells. And these tasks are very easy to do. Score you had in this endgame also shows up in your profile for the duration of the mode, which adds a bit of competitive aspect to that. Very deserved 3rd place, shame we had to wait so long for it. And in the second place for the best endgame, The only weekly endgame that doesn't make me want to commit crimes? Currency wars, sometimes also called non-competitive TFT. I didn't play TFT, so I cannot attest to that. We are granted random characters from all of them in the game, regardless of if we have them on our account or no. We put these characters on on-field or off-field squares, which we have up to 10 characters, which obviously makes the team building very interesting. We also get bonuses if we have characters from the same fraction, from the same region. These bonuses can include in-mode buffs and additional rewards after completing it. We can also put gears on our character to make them even stronger than they are. In start of each 3 phases, we also get strategies to pick, which, as you may probably expect by now, also give buffs. It's one of the very few endgames that I played even after completing it and getting all the rewards, and still had fun in it. And even though I wouldn't play it now, without the rewards, because I kinda got tired of it, I still think it's one of the best endgames out there. Beaten up only by one in SSS tier. Therefore, my favorite endgame in the entire tier list, for making which I unironically ask my friends to borrow accounts from them in order to play it more. Imaginarium Theater. And the best thing is, in the first rotation it came out, I wasn't even bothered enough to finish it. And then I stopped playing for a year. Theater have few difficulty levels, which unfortunately all locked Primo Gems behind them. Additionally, to play this mode you need certain number of characters that have one of the 3 elements accessible or are special guests. On the highest levels it can be up to 20 characters, which all of them have to be at least level 70. So this endgame has the highest requirement of character compared to anyone on the list. But in defense of that, Genshin also has the highest number of 4 stars that is still growing. And in tier, if you have every single one of them built, you can still play this endgame on the highest difficulty. And one character you can always steal from a friend. The fights itself also aren't that hard if you have buffs from cards. This endgame is very randomized. Before each round we draw cards on which you can get mobs you will have to fight. Always at least one of this type of card is available so you can play the game. Cards with buffs to certain reaction. Card that allows you to get a character from certain element or all accessible. And mystery catch, in which you can get discounts from characters. You can also get character or replenish vigor to one of them. And vigor is a special mechanic for the theater, which prohibits you to use characters for more than 2 fights. Except cards, you can also get character after each fight. And to be honest, the description of the mode is far longer than needed because it's very intuitive. And I just love team building in this mode. It requires far more creativity and knowledge than any other endgame in the whole entire game. The restrictions for the characters also were never a problem for me. Just like I said, I prefer to invest in more characters over their constellations or weapons. Objectively speaking, it's still a very good mode, but subjectively, it's the best mode I have the pleasure of playing. And that would be all for today. In comments you can let me know what's your favorite endgame, or what would have you changed in my tier list. And if you enjoyed the video, I would highly suggest to like and subscribe so you wouldn't miss any other video. I wish you all a good day! Bye bye!